Hi, y'all. We're excited to have you here. We want to welcome you to Flatiron School's The Future Design, Embracing AI. My name is Corey Mickelson. I'm the event coordinator here with Flatiron School. A big part of my job is hosting free introductory workshops like today's event to give you all the opportunity to meet some of our staff and get a better feel of the Flatiron School experience. So a quick reminder, we're using the chat as the main source of communication today. So make sure that little blue button is set from host and panelist to everyone so we can all chat together. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guests for today. We have Michael Crashes is here representing our admissions team. Say hi, Michael. And we
Hi,
have
everyone. Welcome.
Joshua and Angel are here representing our product design team. Go ahead and take it away.
Thanks so much. We are very excited to be part of today's discussion. It's a timely discussion. It's an important discussion. And it's important that design is situated in the greater conversation of artificial intelligence and its impact on our societies and cultures. So I'm excited to dive into it. To quickly introduce myself, Joshua Robinson, I'm the director of the product design program here at Flatiron School. So I work with the instructors and the curriculum teams, as well as with enterprise clients to teach product design and to create great experiences for our students who want to move into a product design career. So I've been doing this now about 5 years with Flatiron School. And before that, I was a UX strategist. And before that, I was a UI designer. And then moved into education. Angel, I'll let you introduce yourself, please.
Okay, yeah, sure. Welcome, everybody. My name is Angel Wu, and I'm currently the senior lead instructor of product design program at Flatiron School, and I'm excited to teach the product design cohorts. And I'm actually leading the we don't have in-person cohort now, but basically I'm teaching the virtual cohorts. And yeah, I came from the art direction and some marketing background and also some higher education industry. But my passion is for the product and UX design. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And I'm excited. And I'm also, and I would say an ethical AI advocate. So I'm also a supporter of AI technology. So yeah, I'm excited to be here to have some discussion with you.
Excellent. So if you've attended these before, you know that they tend to run a little more informal than a presentation, more discussion than teaching or presentation. So Angel will join me in discussing some of these points back and forth. I do have some slides to go over because I wanted to start the conversation by situating design and AI within the greater context of how AI is affecting technology and affecting those who work with AI tools and those who are creating AI tools and the businesses that are selling them, and then the users, right? The customers that are using artificial intelligence embedded within these tools. So Angel, absolutely feel free to interrupt at any point if I don't see you, because your take and your thoughts on this we want as much as possible. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. Whoops, hold on. Get the right size. Cool. Okay, everyone can see that? Cool. Okay. So some of you may have read an article that came out a few weeks ago by Mark Andreessen, who was the one of the co-founders of Netscape. So if you are, 35, 45 years old or older, then you might remember Netscape as a precursor, really the first internet browser. So Mark Andreessen is an influential figure, to say the least. He runs the VC firm Andreessen Horowitz, and they have invested, I would say, close to $1 billion in startups over the past decade and some odd years. So he's a big figure. When he speaks, people listen. Let's just put it that way, okay? Especially people in technology. Well, he wrote this article titled "Why AI Will Save the World." In this article, he argues that AI is going to be the key to solving many of the world's most pressing problems. So anything from climate change to poverty, right? These big wicked problems that affect us on a society-like level. He thinks that AI has the potential to augment our intelligence and help us eventually make better decisions. He doesn't really say that AI is this like silver bullet, but he says it's going to be a very powerful tool, not unlike the invention of the internet in our quest to help build a better future. And I'm going to use this article or pieces of the article. Well, I'm going to use a few of his major points. And I'm going to talk about where I believe design fits into his overall vision of the future. Now, this isn't me saying that Mr. Andreessen is completely correct about his predictions. You all will have to go and read the article and draw your own conclusions, okay? But what I'm saying is if some of these ideas and predictions are correct, well, this is where I think UX design, UI design, product design, and user research, information architecture, I think that this is where it will be needed the most. Now, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to use his definition of what AI actually is. So let's all agree for the point of, or for the time being, that we're just going to agree on this definition. He says AI is the application of mathematics and software code to teach computers how to understand, synthesize, and generate knowledge in ways similar to how people do it. AI is just a computer program like any other. It runs, takes input, processes, and generates an output. AI's output is useful across a wide range of fields, ranging from coding to medicine to law to the creative arts. And I think this last sentence is very important for the conversation that we're having today. AI is owned by people and controlled by people, like any other technology. I'm going to read that one more time just to emphasize and allow you to consider for a few seconds what that might mean. AI is owned by people and it's controlled by people like any other technology. The first point that Mr. Andreessen makes is that AI has the potential to augment human intelligence in ways that would otherwise be impossible. Okay, it's going to allow us to process, analyze these vast amounts of data. We can do it faster. We can be more accurate. We can be less biased. And he says this is a natural extension of human intelligence because we've used it to raise our standard of living an order of 10,000 magnitude over the last 4,000 years. The first point that I want to draw out here is that to take advantage of this potential, designers are going to have to work closely with AI experts in order to create interfaces, services, and products that are intuitive and easy to use, and that allow customers to interact with these AI systems in natural ways, in human ways, in meaningful ways. So we don't have to become AI experts, but we will need to learn to work with AI experts. And we've had a little bit of practice in the design field working with data scientists and data engineers over the last decade. So I think that that's going to, that partnership will need to continue to evolve as we look at the Venn diagram and look at the overlap between large data sets and data science, data analytics, and then human-centered design. What comes in the middle? What does that partnership look like? And Angel, I'm wondering, in your opinion, what is it like to work with someone who might be a data scientist or a data engineer or use machine learning algorithms? Have you had projects that that work like that?
Yes, I would say in the role our design process is really important to work with people who owns and analyze data, such as the data scientists, or sometimes just can be the UX researchers, because yeah, actually we probably can play a small, not a small, but part of the roles in the whole design process. So yeah, and it can also, as you mentioned just now, it can also help us mitigate some of our bias when we work with people from another field other than the design team. So this is what it typically looks like. But yes, but here's my but I was thinking, do designers need to become AI experts or not? And there are probably some argue in the industry. So, but we can have more discussion later. But definitely we need to work with a larger team rather than just working with other designers.
Right, expanding the field of what design means is probably going to be part of it. You mentioned something, or you brought something back up about it helping us to mitigate some of our own biases. Do you have examples of that, or ways in which AI could help us mitigate some of our own confirmation bias, or bias towards our own solutions and own understandings, our own point of view of the problem?
Yeah, actually, I would say this is a tricky topic
Yeah.
because, yeah, I do think I would challenge if AI really can minimize those bias for us. But definitely, if we work with data scientists and UX researchers who owns the real data, that would be helpful to help us mitigate those bias. And yeah, I would bring up an example when interacting with AI. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of a recent news it says a lawyer in Manhattan, he was working with a client, and he worked with the he worked with the clients, and he filed a personal lawsuit. When he submits a federal court filing, that refers to 6 cases he found on ChatGPT, and he got trouble because it was figured out later none of those cases existed. So that's what we call in AI hallucination, but that's a different topic probably. So AI technology sometimes can create some unreliable data. So in terms of data, so we need to be super cautious. But yeah, how to verify data and how to ensure the reliability, this will be a big topic we face when we interact with AI.
Absolutely. And that's such a great example because, designers, as I say here, I don't think we have to become AI experts. You might disagree, others will disagree with that. But working with AI experts will help us to layer on that validation step, right? So we're not just taking the output from the AI tools and saying this is now the source of truth, right? If we work with data scientists and we work with AI experts, they will be able to help us validate and evaluate the output of some of that. And I also think that even extending the circle further, right? We have cybersecurity training here at Flatiron School, right? I have been able to use some of the risk assessment models that cybersecurity experts develop in order to assess AI for truthfulness, for the source of truth. So I think we have to go outside of the field of design a little bit, like you said, in order to best make use of and also to assess the potential harm and bias that we could be bringing into our products and our processes.
Yeah, 100%.
My second thinking about how design fits into this first point, right, about augmenting human intelligence in ways that would be otherwise impossible. I think that the value of creativity and emotional intelligence is going to go up. Okay. This is something that we have seen over the past decade, right? Hiring managers are saying that they are looking for the ability to work with teams, the ability to embrace the goals of other people, the ability to uh, resolve discrepancies within teams, the ability to facilitate design and facilitate um, uh, product sessions with other team members is really important. So emotional intelligence, right? It's not only a deep understanding of how the technology works, but the human factors that influence how we're going to interact with the technology. I read an article, a professor at Carnegie Mellon has been traveling around giving lectures to mathematicians, and he's been telling them, focus on what distinguishes people from machines, right? Things like creativity and emotion. He's telling mathematicians, career mathematicians, to focus deeper on what distinguishes people from machines. So I think this is really great news for the field of design, right? Because certainly critical thinking and creativity, the ability to interact with our users, interview users, to synthesize data and come back with solutions to problems is a big part of what designers do. But we do it not in a vacuum, right? We don't, the myth of the lone genius designer, right, has just got to continue to fall by the wayside, right? Products succeed with the strength of their teams, right? And design is only a part of that. In the next part of the article, Mark Andreessen lays out all of these possible scenarios showing how AI could improve things. Mostly with AI being some sort of assistant, like a child's tutor, or maybe an AI coach or a trainer, an advisor, financial advisor, or even a therapist. And this AI coach, this AI mentor or tutor could be present through all of life's opportunities and challenges. The overall theme of this part of the article is that AI is going to enable better decision making. He even talks about AI improving warfare to minimize risk, error, and unnecessary bloodshed. Now, that's a really strong statement to make, right? But the big takeaway for me here is that the number of digital products is going to continue to increase. We're going to see more and more digital products, and the opportunities to work on the user experience of those products is also going to rise and increase. And you see this even in the United States government, where last year, there was an executive order about transforming the federal customer experience and service delivery in order to rebuild trust in the government. Okay, so this was under President Biden. And I sat in on a panel recently of service designers, CEOs of companies that the US government uses to build services and digital products. And they're saying that there is a big demand for UX designers and user researchers in the United States government, right? I mean, it was only in the 80s, I think, that the Digital Information Act was passed, or the Paper Reduction Act, I think is what it was called. Somebody can fact check me on when that was passed. But the government is always going to be some odd years behind the rest of the technology industry. Okay, well, now they're catching on to this idea that in order to build trust with their customers, their users, i.e. us, that are in the United States, there should be some sort of standard of how services are delivered. There should be a good user experience, okay? So we're going to see those digital products and digital solutions continue to rise as more and more companies embrace good UX design and good service design as the baseline standard. So Mark Andreessen sort of ends this section of the article by saying that rather than making the world harsher and more mechanistic, infinitely patient and sympathetic AI will make the world warmer and nicer. Oh, doesn't that feel good? Warmer and nicer. We all get our little AI robots, right? Maybe, maybe not. Probably somewhere in the middle, right? Well, he also points out some really interesting things in this article that I think are important for designers to think about, especially if you're following the news with AI, if you're following some influential technology figures in these AI companies and you're listening to their opinions on podcasts, on articles, and whatever. There's a couple of important things to keep in mind. And anybody who's working in tech right now is sort of doing that, right? There's everyone, because there are no real experts on using artificial intelligence as a UX designer, right? This is all being sort of done in real time and everyone's figuring it out as we go along. But Mark Andreessen brings up the point that historically, every new technology that matters, whether it's electric lighting or automobiles, radio, the internet, has sparked something called a moral panic. Even the elevator was blamed for this like rise in crime, destroying civil society. The elevator, okay, remaking cities and destroying civil society. So all throughout history, especially since the Industrial Revolution, we see the rise of this sort of moral panic. Now, whether or not you can equate AI to the elevator is questionable. We can debate that. But I do think that there is a pinpoint of truth here that no matter what, there's always going to be this like spike in a call for reform to go back to the way it was or something like that. So that makes sense to me. There's also the point he makes that many new technologies have actually led to bad outcomes. But those are often the same technologies that have otherwise enormously benefited society. And you can think of a lot of examples here, right? So nuclear power, the internet, social media, the overuse of antibiotics. Could think of pesticides increasing agricultural productivity, but there's all these unintended environmental consequences. So we need good frameworks and good models in order to do better forecasting, better futuring, if you will. And UX designers have a lot of tools that are suitable or semi-suitable for that kind of risk assessment and that kind of job, right? We have journey mapping, user story mapping, service design mapping. We have all these maps that we try to create in order to model what the situation is, what the problem is, so that we can home in on certain elements in order to create solutions. Now, these are big, big, big technologies, right? So I'm not saying that we could do a user journey map for a nuclear reactor. I'm not saying that, right? I'm being a bit hyperbolic here. But the bigger point is that a lot of these technologies have been enormously beneficial to our welfare, but there's still been bad outcomes. So what might that mean for artificial intelligence? Designers and researchers have to become more rigorous in their examination of potential harm. That's part of it. The other part of it is that we must be more persuasive with our stakeholders. We must embrace great communication. We must embrace facilitation and conversation. We must be able to manage up, down, and across. That's a lot to ask of of a junior UX designer, right? But it should become a larger part of our design education, should be foundational. That when we're working with these types of technologies, that there is a rigorous examination of the potential to do harm. Okay, and these models are out there. Okay, there are many different ways to do risk assessment from a design perspective and a user research perspective. They require investment of resources and time in order to do well and to be thorough. And we have to be convincing and persuasive with our stakeholders that this is important. Angel, do you have any thoughts to add here? You were talking about the ethical bent of AI design.
Yes, yes. And actually, I love the picture that the book and the article is showing us, because we can almost predict there is a beautiful picture in the future, right? And like everybody can have an AI assistant, an AI coach, an AI mentor, or even some AI therapist, right? And yeah, I believe that's what we will see in the future. But at the same time, I would say human power and human labor is still super important when we interact with AI, because there are a lot of things, at least so far, I can see from my practice that AI can do. So for example, I can just talk about from the product designer's perspective, and based on my experiments and my interactions with AI technology. And actually, there are still lots of restrictions we see from AI, right? Those AI tools. And for example, we might see lots of emerging AI automation tools. And I did experiment quite some of those. Some are great, like I saw some of the chats, and our audience mentioned like stable diffusion and some Midjourney, those image generator. Yeah, they are doing some good job in creating some pictures. But in terms of ethics, I would like to, let's say, think about certain scenario. So if I am an illustrator, I have created lots of amazing creative work. And if somebody fit those images and put those images to Midjourney, and also add some, let's say, some prompts, but specific prompts, and Midjourney might generate some similar images in similar styles, right? So for those images generated by AI, can we use it in our work? So is that who owns the intelligent property, and is it considered like plagiarism? Or yeah, it might cause some ethical problems and some legal problems here. That's why we as designers, we need to be responsible for the work we create, and also be responsible for the business and the company we work for. So yeah, that's our responsibility to help, like improve those, let's say, the regulation probably. And yeah, so that's why I would say I'm an AI advocate, but just ethical AI advocate. Yeah, and but far more than that, and I would say I still see some other restrictions in AI tools. For example, just now, I would like to go back to the previous question. Will AI help us mitigate bias? So I would say I don't have answers so far, because like generative AI, they learn from extensive training data and provide us some output. But the thing is those data reliable? If those data, they are biased, then they might generate biased outcome for us. So yeah, that's another thing. Probably we need to be very cautious. And yeah, so reliability, that's another problem, right? As I mentioned just now, the hallucinations that AI might create for the users. When we search, like when we talk to ChatGPT, our audience here probably also have some experience that they didn't tell you where those source is from, and if that's the true source or not, or if it is manipulated by ChatGPT. There's very hard for us to, validate those data. Yeah, that's some of my concerns. But yeah, we can dive in deeper into this discussion. And because I see lots of restrictions there, but I agree with Joshua, because we do need to embrace AI rather than panic.
A really good example of what you're talking about, Angel. All of the images in the slideshow, well, not all of them, but most of them are generated by AI, as you could probably tell. Every prompt that I gave the generative model output a white person with white skin. Every single one. The only way I could generate an image with a person in it that had brown or dark skin was to tell it explicitly African American or Indian or something like that. Okay, there is a natural assumption built into the natural bias that of the data that it was trained on that prioritized whiteness. So that is the type of thing when I say we have to be more rigorous, right, in our examination for potential harm. Now, Angel mentioned regulation. And Mark Andreessen makes a really interesting point about this moral panic and regulation. So some of you may remember a couple of months ago, there was this call to halt development on AI models that were more powerful than GPT-4. It was an open letter, and it's been signed by Elon Musk and Steve Wozniak, Andrew Yang, Tristan Harris. The idea is that it gives us as a society and the governments more time to properly assess the risk and see what needs to be regulated. Okay. On the surface, that sounds like a good idea, right? I just said we have to be more rigorous in assessing harm. But Mark Andreessen points to this recurring issue in reform movements where bootleggers, right? Some of you heard that term, bootleggers, emerge who are able to benefit from the moral panic that arises. So just like the bootleggers during the prohibition of alcohol in the United States in the 20s, these bootleggers are opportunists who in some way stand to profit from new restrictions and regulations and laws that insulate them from competitors. Now, what does it mean that Elon Musk is saying, everybody stop developing AI? Well, Elon Musk was a big investor in OpenAI, who is responsible for ChatGPT. It's worth asking the question, who benefits? It's worth going deeper too, because you get a sense of this by looking at the organization where this letter, this open letter is hosted. It's the Future of Life Institute. Okay, the Future of Life Institute is one of several organizations that has this network of billionaire-driven fellowships that promote this philosophy known as long-termism. Or you may have heard it as the effective altruism movement. So you can see here, the Future of Life Institute, where the letter was hosted and everybody signed, one of its advisors is Elon Musk, right? And the whole point is to help humanity reduce global catastrophic and existential risks. Well, you look at a lot of the founders, right? Max Tegmark, cosmologists, physicists, Skype founder, John Tallinn, I'm not sure who he is, but I certainly know Skype. Elon, so I would direct you to this article. I'll leave it here and I won't go deeper into it, but I will leave you here. There's an article here by Rebecca Ackerman if you want to know about effective altruism. But she basically says that effective altruism's ideas of long-faced criticism within the fields of philosophy and philanthropy, that they reflect white Western saviorism and an avoidance of structural problems in favor of abstract math. Not coincidentally, many of the same objections lobbed at the tech industry at large. Even Elon Musk himself tweeted, "Leading artificial general intelligence developers will not heed this warning." He's referring to the open letter to halt, but at least it was said. This makes me think of something called ethics washing. Ethics washing is where there's a lot of noise being made, but very little improvement or very little signal in the noise. So as designers, this is going to be an interesting space to watch over the next few months to see what, if anything, is accomplished towards enacting regulation that really benefits anyone except the companies who already own and train these models. Remember, AI is controlled by and owned by people, just like any other technology. So how to stop AI harm? Pause development for 6 months. Boom, you're welcome. We stopped AI harm. Sounds a little silly on the surface of it, right? So with the rest of the time that we have, which is about 15 minutes or so, I want to have a discussion about, oh, this is the last slide I had, just as a reminder, okay? A lot of people who have no idea what they're talking about are being asked to have an opinion on AI, okay? Now, I will turn that lens on myself and say that I am being asked to have an opinion on AI. I've tried to do my research and due diligence. I have tried to take an ethical stance and viewpoint whenever I'm using an AI tool. But I'm learning, as are most other people. They're learning what this new reality is going to be like. So there's a lot of hot takes out there. And this is just my reminder that a lot of people are being paid to have an opinion, and they might have no idea what they're talking about. All right, so let's talk a little more practically, okay? For the sake of argument, let's assume that UX is just another set of rules that a bot can be trained on. All right, that's a hot take. Angel, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, actually, I see some common concerns in the industry, to be honest. And so far as Joshua was saying, everybody in the industry is still learner. We are not AI experts yet. And but I mean, in terms of those common concerns, like is AI replacing the UX designer's job, or how AI is reshaping the UX or the product design industry. So I would say, yeah, definitely we can expect to see lots of changes happening in the industry, right? Because we already see those huge changes or improvement in the last 6 months, and we all know what's happening. So that's something we cannot ignore and we cannot avoid. So, but we need to embrace. But but my opinion, just my personal perspective, I don't think, and I don't feel threatened so far, because I can see lots of work that AI can do, but definitely AI is helping me with lots of work. Maybe I can talk about specifically about the UI design process. So I would say there's a lot of things I mentioned that AI can help us with. For example, in product design process, we need to conduct UX research. That's the first step. We need to get started. And AI definitely, it helps us to, enhance our productivity in collecting data, especially in user interviews. It helps us transcribe those, recordings, interviews, and it helps us synthesize data that that will help enhance our capability instead of taking place, right? Because we are human and we are UX designers or product designers. Our value is empathy. I would say empathy, creativity, especially when we talk about balancing, we need to balance the business needs and the user's needs. I would say that's something AI cannot replace. So because that needs human interaction. But yeah, more than that, but I would say AI help you with lots of things. For example, it helped me generate some quick visual elements like icons, logos, or even can help me generate some quick layouts and make suggestions on color palettes, on typefaces, or it can even help me in the later phases, like the let's say the usability test phase. It helps us to what else they can do, similar to the research process, the research phase. They help us to sometimes it can help us with synthesize those test results. So lots of things they can help us, but just increase or help enhance our productivity and capability. So far I never thought AI can replace us, because some AI products they seem more, let's say, underbaked products. It didn't work as well as stated in their demo. I've tried lots of those tools. This is one of the reasons. Another reason is that I would say, yeah, some outcomes, they seem more templated rather than being creative. So we as designers, our own value is we are human. That's the most strength. Yeah, we know how to empathize. We know how to be creative while balancing the business and users' needs. That's my thought.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I agree with everything that you're saying. I do believe that over the next 2 years, we are going to see more and more automation of tasks that UX designers used to do. But I agree that there's almost no end to the human part of it, right? When you look at the technology and actually building the thing, right, we can automate away a lot of the smaller decisions, a lot of the repetitive tasks, some of the data collection, even some of the data synthesis, right? But it's always going to have to be checked by a human, right? You're always going to need to ask deeper questions than necessarily what the natural language processing or generative AI model can give you, right? You're always going to need to talk to people. You need human-driven decision making.
Yeah.
So in human-centered AI, right, the technology is only 1 out of 3 parts, right? You've still got to be able to explain your decisions, right? Just like the lawyer who got in trouble for referencing court cases that did not exist, he was responsible for his choice. his decision, even though the AI model gave him the quote unquote answer, right? He was still responsible for that. We are still going to be responsible as product designers for our designs, for our decisions, right? So I think that's an encouraging thing. I think that being able to automate a lot of the smaller tasks is going to open up a whole new area for UX designers and user researchers. So how have I personally found AI tools helpful? Well, I work in Figma most every day in some way or another. And there are different Figma plugins that now have an AI component, or at least an automation component. And this is a great example of what I'm saying, where we're coming up with these like new innovative ways to automate these multi-step processes that used to take like 20 minutes, right? To fill out a new layout with placeholder text, or to import data from a Google Sheet or spreadsheet, and use that real data, dynamic data, like dynamically updating all of your designs with the new data that's in your spreadsheet. All those automated tasks, they don't necessarily use AI, but I think it's still, in principle, it is towards the trend of what we're talking about. I think you mentioned too, Angel, being able to do predictive analytics, right? It takes a lot of time to do heat map testing with a large audience, to do A/B testing and things like that. So there are tools that are being developed and that are in use now that can actually give you pretty accurate predictions of how well your layout supports your call to action, right? Or how clear a clarity score on your text and on your design choices, on your colors. Automating accessibility. This is an exciting thing for accessibility, because I think that more and more the excuse of accessibility is like the developers, the software engineer's job, or the product manager's job to think about, or we don't have to think about accessibility because we haven't talked to anybody, we haven't heard from any of our customers that they need accessibility in our product. Those excuses are not going to work anymore, right? Because it can be folded into an automatic process. I think that's great. I think that's really exciting. And I think we're on the verge of some really great stuff there. Angel, you also mentioned the ability to transcribe user interviews and give us a pretty accurate summary. So I've done this many times now with several different AI models, and I continue to be impressed with the summary takeaways, or the moments of interest. Okay, I'm going to call them moments of interest that it's able to pick out from the user video or the transcript. Sentiment analysis. Okay, sentiment analysis is really helpful when you're looking at 100 different customer responses via a form field or a video or something like that, and it can give you an overall idea of how customers are feeling about this new feature or about this new product. Okay, now, to me, and Angel, you might have a different viewpoint, but to me, this is a lot like the difference between quantitative and qualitative data. Okay, quantitative data can tell me 50 out of 60 users did not like this feature. It cannot tell me why users didn't like the feature. So if I run a sentiment analysis on I could even run a sentiment analysis using social media. Okay, let's pretend that I am, what's a product out there that a lot of people use? Well, let's just say Facebook. No, I don't want to do Facebook. I hate Facebook. Let's say the Headspace app. Okay, if anybody uses Headspace or Calm, one of those apps, I can run a sentiment analysis across Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, different places, and anywhere people are mentioning Headspace, right? It can tell me, are they generally saying positive things, or are they generally saying negative things? That's just a general indicator that something might be wrong, right? Or there's a problem that we need to look deeper into. In my limited experience so far, AI is like that. It can give you a good indicator of where to start looking, but UX designers have to dig deeper into the why, right? Right now, AI doesn't do a great job telling you why a certain phenomena is happening or why users are tripping up over this particular part of your interface. It can just tell you that they are. That's a big difference. And we see that a lot with quantitative data versus qualitative data in design.
Yes, I
All right.
agree.
Okay, so we've got a few more minutes and I'm going to jump quickly over to the chat and see if anybody has any questions or topics that they would like to end with. Any economic financial studies on the value of using AI? These tools are not free for a company. That's right. What's the ROI on the use of AI tools? Yeah, I have not come across yet a report. I would expect one from McKinsey or Boston Consulting Group any day now. But that's a really good question. I don't know. I think any speculation on the ROI of using AI tools would have to be contextual to your own business or your own product. I think you would have to price that out in your individual context. At least that's the way I've had to do it for Flatiron School, right? For when it comes to using AI tools in our product design program, I have to calculate the ROI contextually using our own business model. I've not been able to find or reference reports out there. A lot of words on the diagram need hyphens. Yeah, thank you. UX writer, absolutely. Human-centered, human-driven decision, human-controlled. Good call. Oh, Laura asks about the specific tools, Angel, that you've been using in your work.
Oh, yes, sure. Let's say there are quite some AI tools I'm using in the whole design process. For example, I mentioned that in the UX research process, and that's also one of the tools I introduced to my students, AI, and it's the best transcribing tools I've used so far. So AI, that's the transcribe. And I also I will recommend some like productivity tools like Microsoft the Copilot. And if you are looking for some tools that help you edit image or improving image, you can use maybe a remove background or let's say Adobe Firefly. Adobe Firefly is another one. If you want to generate some images quickly, and there are also some tools you can use, but they are the paid version. And I tested some, so I don't think they really work so well, but let's say Midjourney and Stable Diffusion, they does the work, but we need to be cautious about, be careful about the intelligent property when we work with clients. It's good for school projects though. Another one is just launched by Meta, that's image bind, but you need to install it in your local device, in your local laptop. So yeah, there are lots of tools we can introduce, and we actually, Joshua was leading our team to incorporate those contents into our curriculum. So probably in the near future, yeah, we can also help our students to enhance their capabilities using embracing AI.
This image bind is wild.
Yes.
I had not seen that before today. So, wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Oh, there is another plugin. If you are using the Figma, I think GPT is another one. You can give a try. It does the work as well. And another one is magician. Magician is they only offer paid version. Yeah, that's another good tool. But again, I would say don't rely on AI only, because that needs we need human decisions and human judgment in our design process, because complex cognitive tasks can only be done by human rather than by AI.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I'm sure we could go on for another hour at least into these questions. The next series that we do, or the next panel that we do, is going to be about more AI, specifically in UX design, and we are going to dive more into some of the tools and demonstrations. So do sign up for that. I believe that's next month that we're going to be doing that demonstration. So hope to see you back for that.
We'll have that
Thanks,
on
everyone.
July 12th, and that will be live in the next couple of days.
Awesome.
Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Joshua, and thank you, Angel, for another great conversation. I couldn't leave my computer the entire time, so I couldn't wait to listen to what you had to say next. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We hope to see you again soon, and have an amazing afternoon. Bye, y'all.
Thank you all.